What's up, guys? My name's Owen, and welcome back to the Bet Fender podcast. And in today's episode, I am going to be reviewing the 2022 Italian Grand Prix. So, before the race, it was raining all day before the race actually started, so the track was soaked. So everyone had to start on the intermediate tires, or everyone started on the intermediate tires, since they have good traction against wet conditions. Joe Guan Yu started from the pits. Lewis Hamilton started 14th. Hamilton has not had a good season so far. I don't remember, but I don't think he started in the top 10 lately. Then Verstappen and Leclerc started on the front row. Verstappen leads after the first corner. And then a couple corners in, Daniel Ricciardo collides with Sainz, which brings out the first safety car. And it looked like someone got into the back of Ricciardo going into turn 4. The chicane there. And that little bump kind of got Ricciardo loose to hit Sainz. And in the last 2 races, Sainz has only completed 1 lap in 2 Grand Prix. That's just unfortunate for him. And Sainz is out of the Grand Prix. I feel like they probably could have pushed Sainz's car out of the gravel trap and he could have continued, because it didn't look like he had any damage. He just got stuck in the gravel trap, and had to retire, which sucks for him. Also in that wreck, Schumacher, he spun and hit Alonso, giving him some damage. And then after the restart, part of Alonso's side pod actually came apart. There was a huge hole in the side pod. So Alonso had to go into the pit, and he retired from this race, being the second person out of the race. Then when we went back to green, a couple laps later, Magnussen and Russell battled for 5th. And a couple laps later, Bottas joined that fight. Both Russell and Bottas managed to pass Magnussen, and during that fight, this track was so hard to pass. Then a little while later, Tsunoda, Stroll, and Hamilton all battled for 9th. And then when everyone pit to get off the intermediate tires because the track was drying up, Hamilton went out of he finished his pit stop, went out, and then Ocon, he came out of his pit and kind of forced Hamilton out and hit him, which dropped Hamilton back to 14th, where he unfortunately ended up finishing. That after that, Like a lap later, Schumacher spins in one of the corners, uh, giving a quick yellow. And throughout this whole race, DRS was not active since the road conditions were wet, and I think they didn't want to have a repeat of last year, where there was a big accident last year in the raining conditions as DRS was enabled, so they finally enabled it with like 20 laps to go or something. No. And at this point, Verstappen, who is still in the lead, he laps Hamilton and Gasly, who are battling for 13th. And after the Hamilton's pit, he struggled to get past Gasly. And he ended up not getting past him. Then a little while later, Ocon was given a 5-second time penalty for a unsafe pit release, which was the incident involving Hamilton. Then going into the final 10 laps, Leclerc was catching and going to pass Perez, but he spins, and he gets a little bit of front wing damage, and then immediately pits, and he goes from 3rd to 9th with that incident. He did recover from it, but not as well as he hoped. And at the end of this race, Verstappen ends up your Grand Prix winner, followed by Perez, then Lando Norris, then Russell, Bottas, Leclerc, Tsunoda, Verstappen, Magnussen, and Stroll round out the top 10. All in all, this race was, I'd say, a little bit on the boring side. But with, like, the weather conditions, the rain scare that happened, it was a decent race. Wasn't amazing, but I'm gonna say solid 6.5 out of 10. And we will see you in 2 weeks for... Alright, so see you in 2 weeks for the Miami Grand Prix. So, before we end, please remember to like and subscribe, as well as... That's on my other channel. Never mind. We'll see you next time. Peace.